What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 19 of Only for the Strong. Today's guests are a couple strong up-and-comers in the training and bodybuilding industry, Georgia Patchin and Charles Harman. How you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks, bro. How are you?
Good thing.
Good. Yeah, so just before we got on, Charles, you were cracking into a bit of a what seemed like a rant there, so I think we can start with that. What were you wanting to talk about?
I was just going on to you about the sort of like the affiliation and supplement industry and like the sponsorships and whatnot these days are sort of gauging towards not really looking like an athlete or full muscular or whatever these days. It's more just like your following and the
Mm,
content you're creating, like a content creator influencer. Um, I was just like gauging the other day. It's like there's not too many like I was looking at a supplement company, and there's not too many like people that look like they train or anything like that, but they've got a big following, and
That's what they're
mm,
interested in, yeah.
because it helps them obviously
Mm.
market more, get more sales that way. I guess you could
mm.
say.
Yeah, I don't know whether it stems from the fitness industry or it's something that's just like in general culture and it's like infiltrated the fitness industry. But I think a lot of people are just celebrating mediocrity. Um, like everyone always says, "Oh, as long as you show up, that's enough," and that's bullshit. That's not true. Like you guys will know this. Being in gyms, spend heaps of time in the gyms. There's always the people that come at the same times religiously, but they muck around and they never get anywhere. And they showed up, but you've got to bring
Honestly,
that. You go. You're good.
you have those people like you'll go to the same gym and like you see people keep showing up, cool, but like they don't make any progress. And here you are, you're
Mm,
making your progress in whatever you've set yourself out to do, but you see these people, and it's like
They
it's almost
look,
like you want to help them, because you know that you
mm,
can help them get further than you know.
they look the
Um,
mm,
same year round, and they ask you, "What are you doing? Like, what's your training looking like?" And you can help them all you like, but you
mm,
still see them go back to their old ways too.
mm.
and
I
I
feel like those people sometimes make you feel not to just shit on everyone, but those people sometimes make you feel a bit like bad for being so zoned in to your training. I don't know if you guys have ever got some of that, but I certainly used to anyway when I was a little bit younger. Like people would kind of bag on me for like really getting after it or like grunting a little bit or like getting in the zone or putting my heart and soul into my lifts. And I think that's something honestly a lot of people don't understand. And I know you guys both know this, but there's something about training. The reason why we get so attached to it, so hooked to it, is because we put our heart and soul into our lifts, you know? And I
Oh,
don't, relating back to even what you're saying about like people who are getting sponsored or even people in the gym not making progress, I always thought like weight training or bodybuilding, if you were going to do it half-ass and not put your heart and soul into it, I always thought it would be the most boring thing to do because I feel it's when you go to the gym and you're like, I don't know, you might have an injury or something going on and you're not in it. I think it's shit. Like it's not fun, you know. So I never
think
understood that, but yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah,
I think
it limits you a lot. Like you go there, and if you're only like what, let's just say you go there and you've got like a broken arm, and you can only train what
mm,
lower half, lower body. Like that's just cuts out a lot of your sessions throughout
just
the
the one
week.
arm chest press will
You
do it.
know, like you can
mm,
only do what one arm curls, push downs, flies. You know, like you're not even probably going to want to do that because you might end up with like an unsymmetrical body, but
mm,
that's not necessarily how it works.
Yeah, I was a bit
mm,
scared about that with my leg, to be honest. But there's been studies out there that can show that it actually can help and help
mm,
your, your injured side. But back to the training thing as well. I think a lot of people, like you said, Campbell, we put our heart and our soul into our lifts, and you live for that shit, eh? Like, I miss
mm,
that so much just right now. Like, even the day of my accident, like I had a massive PR on the Cybex hack squat back in home at Flex, and just the feeling after it, it's just something that
mm,
you can't get elsewhere. But I feel a lot of people, they just
Oh, I've hit
struggle to
12
push,
reps.
yeah,
That's
struggle,
enough.
yeah,
mm.
struggle to push themselves training. It's like you know mentally and physically pushing yourself is something different than just I'm just going to follow my plan. 4 sets of 12. That's pretty easy, but I'm just going to stay at that weight because yeah.
Why do you guys think so? Like, I'm probably one of those people, and I know you two definitely are, but we do put our heart and soul into our training, and it means a lot. I know the answer to this, but I'm asking you, what do you think is the difference between like the people who just go and kind of like go to 12 and then stop, and the people who really take it into deep waters? Like, even I think I was looking at your Instagram today, Charles, and you were like on the hack squat. I think you had like 7 or 8 plates aside, and it's not even that weight's heavy, but it's not even about the number. It was just clear you were going to a certain place in that moment, and that's what makes it meaningful and what people don't understand. But why do you think people like yourselves have that affiliation with like their training?
We seek to better ourselves every day, to grow.
Mm,
Actually, just it's like an upskill. It's a skill to have as well, I
mm,
reckon, to be able to not have limitations, be able to see yourself where you want to be able to achieve those goals, whether you break them down to minor ones each week, each session. Like you said, the hack squat, like I went into that session thinking I'm going to do 8 plates on the hack squat. If I didn't do it, I would have
mm,
been down with myself. So I'm going to
mm,
give it all I can to actually get there.
Almost like visualizing yourself doing the set before you're doing it, and not
mm,
doubting yourself before you do that.
mm. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have internalized this, maybe because you are a little bit younger, but what I've seemed to identify is the reason why you see people like yourselves and others around you get so attached to the training is because um, it's it's an emotional outlet for you, and usually you're dealing with something that's deeper rooted in your past or something you're dealing with at the moment. And rather than partying, rather than drugs, rather than like all sorts of other stuff, that's the way you deal and process that emotion, and that's often why it seems so meaningful and heavy to the person, I think. And I think that's the difference, is because the other people who just go to the gym for fun, which is actually all good, they're just there for fun or to look a bit better. And I think when that's the reason, you're not able to push like the same people are pushing, who are bringing some sort of emotional, I guess,
Mm.
trauma or experience into it, you know?
Would you consider those like the lifestyle people?
Mm.
Is that what?
Yeah, like I think the thing is as well is that this is something you'll get better at as well as you get older. Is you have to get to a point where I think you understand people do things for different reasons, and that's okay.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean it can get blended in with what I do. You know, I'm still allowed to do my thing, be about my business, and have a strict line, and the waters don't get muddled. But at the same time, like, other people are going to be different, and I need to understand that, and that's okay. And I think the only thing, the whole point I was kind of making is I grew up playing heaps of sports. I played tennis, I played rugby, soccer, everything, and I always thought weight training, when you do it half-ass, is boring. Like, I don't know why, if you weren't into it. Like, if I didn't like weight training, or I felt it was a drag, or I didn't take it to that place where I got so much out of it, I would probably just go play like social squash and have a beer, you know?
Mm.
That So I just think I'm trying to hash into a little bit about why you guys, I guess, I would call it a healthy obsession with it, and why. And I'm sure you do have friends or know people, it's a little bit low key, and again, that's all right. But why do you think that you've become so attached to it? Is it just progression, or are there other sort of things that play into it?
Definitely, my mum would be like something that comes in for me, and I think we discussed
Mm,
that a lot, like in the last podcast. But yeah, can definitely relate. Like someone that's gone through some life experience and some things. Like I feel I had to grow up quite quick after that. So
mm,
yeah, that's definitely a big thing, and I know it's not
mm,
harder than fighting cancer. So
mm,
which is what motivates me, and like even now with what I'm going through, and the leg is it has good days and bad days. It's not something linear, and it's not something that I take lightly as well.
mm,
That's why I'm like super grateful that I've got Charles. He's like, yeah, huge support system for me in that sense. But
mm.
yeah, what would you say is like a driver for you then? in my
Yeah, is
opinion.
it for you, Charles? Is it like rather than things maybe rooted in the past, like goals set in the future? Like I wanted to ask you. I feel like I've seen Georgia around in the scene for a while, and we have a lot of mutual friends. But you, I've seen around just through different people, maybe more in the last year. And you seem to be training at quite a high level. What is your like? Do you have a literally clear set goal for your training, or is it just kind of day by day?
So to how I first got into it was obviously um, I was in high school, younger age, and I was like always I got bullied quite a bit through primary and then into
Mm,
high school. I sort of wanted like an outlet. I never found a sport that I stuck with. Like always got given shit from like people and like even my family's like, oh, you don't stick at anything, you're not gonna stick at this. And here I am, what 7 years later, still here doing it. And that's what
mm,
really grew me because I didn't know what I was doing. I just went to the gym, just like mindset, just come here, do something, get your mind off things. And
mm,
that was, I don't know, just 3 days a week. And I'd even have dumbbells at home because when I was in there, I was just doing curls or watching YouTube videos at the desk.
mm,
So after I started getting a bit more hooked more, like my sister used to compete in IFBB, used to be like the face of
Mm.
Gaspari,
mm,
um, um, face of ice ups too, is that sort of thing? I'm not too sure.
mm,
So she sort of just didn't really give me the ropes, didn't really give me too much guidance, but she was also always there as like a backbone. And I sort of just grew and grew and grew. And then I never really justified myself competing. And I did my first show in 2021. I don't really talk much about it because I was a bit ashamed of how I looked. I was going through a lot at the time. So I was pretty,
mm,
yeah, so I did the first show. That was that. I thought, you know what? There's more to this than you think. It's teaching you a lot of discipline. And to be fair, like I would rather eat chicken and rice and a lot of other foods out there. Like
mm,
I've always thrived Chinese, like Chinese food, sweet and sour pork,
mm,
chicken. So like I'm not really losing anything by doing that. So I just eat that night and
mm,
day. So did that, and I just kept on going. And so um, set big aspirations. Like I loved looking up to like WWE people like that when I was
mm,
younger, and people in the rugby like Sonny Bill, like he was like one of my favorite like inspirations. Like good at multiple sports, boxing, rugby, league. He wasn't stuck in one sort of rugby union. He was also in rugby
mm,
too, and gave you the option. There's variety out there as well, and I think going forward, like I would love to do more shows, more shows, more shows, and maybe um, push my body, to a degree where it looks, um, it looks like you can walk around the street and, people turning heads and stuff. Not like
mm,
I want that, but it's like hey, that's the sort of look you go for, like the abnormal sort of like out of the more you
mm.
don't look ordinary, you don't look the same,
Where it's
and then
clear you've done work to get there.
yeah, and then obviously my goal after that, maybe when I'm like towards late 20s, 29, 30, because I'm 24 now. I was thinking about, downsizing, about going back and playing a bit of rugby myself and
Mm,
living a bit more of a fitter sort of aspect on life.
mm.
Um,
And what I wanted to segue into, as we kind of touched on it before we got on, is I feel like a lot of people, especially who are younger and competing and training, they either are single or they have a relationship but their partner isn't into it. And I just would love to hear from you guys how you find, I guess, training and eating regularly and like looking to compete and having those things on on the horizon while being in a relationship with someone who's into the same thing.
all right, so first things first, Georgia gives you the most night and day support, hands down, night and day
Mm,
support.
Thank
I'll
you.
just say that just out of the blue. Like, you may think it's detrimental to be in a relationship with a bodybuilder, so in the same sport as you, eating the same sort of meals, like, oh, you got down on my food, you got down on whatever. If that's the case, she's still supporting you. Like,
mm,
if I'm out of chicken at home and I can't be bothered going to the supermarket, here's some of mine, like goes
mm,
vice versa. In the gym, she can run over to you and drops what she's doing, and she's going to come over and spot you, assist you there. Do you want to spot? Do you want a video? Anything like that. And even yesterday, we were working out together. It was just she knows the tempo and the quality of the gym sessions, what it should be. Like she's been in this industry long enough and knows enough herself that she knows what a quality standard of an exercise should be in the reps, and knows to gauge when to come in and spot you and from a distance like that. And then obviously you're around each other quite often, and then go to the gym together. Like that can have its highs and lows, but at the end of the day, we come back, we recap on the session, like, oh, you did well there, here, You want to touch on?
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Charles. No, likewise. Like, even just bringing it back to like how Charles mentioned that I know like the quality or like whatever about the session. That's something that I've learned off him, and I'm super grateful that he's been able to pass on his training knowledge and those things that helped me become a better athlete, especially my bodybuilding prep last year. Because I came from that powerlifting where I was transitioning back into bodybuilding as well when I first met Charles. So it wasn't like, okay, we're just trying to lift as heavy as we can. It's actually like, we want to do, really burn out the delts with lateral raises rather than trying to heavy press, because you're going to get more stimulus out of that and therefore more growth. So I'm really appreciative of that. And like Charles touched on, like you have, your highs and your lows. And if we're like in each other's face all day and then we have to go and train, then sometimes it might be like, okay, like we'll just go and do our own thing today. Like, but for the time now, I'm still living back up in Palmy. So like when we are together, we do enjoy training together, and it's really good just, having someone that, knows how to spot, just, knows. And I think the biggest thing is like, it's you're with someone that wants you to like almost succeed more than themselves, That's the big thing. Like, you've got that person that you love, and believe in each other more than we believe in ourselves sometimes. And that's that's sport, because everyone has a bit of self-doubt here and there, but it's, once you got to get past that and not give up. So I think we work well in that sense.
Yeah, because Georgia, I know you would have done a prep like probably when you were like single or a bit more by yourself, a bit more isolated. And I don't know what your one in 2021 looked like, Charles, but I think it can be real rough, especially when, like, for me, my family just did not get it. And not only were they like, not only did they not get it, but like still to this day, I still like, if I go home, I'll be a bit more laxed or whatever, but I still like to have a few certain meals at a certain time, and it's still not understood. And I've finally, you just get to the point where you get over it. But I think when you're a little bit younger and you're so invested in this process, you're giving your all to, like it can be, one, it can be super lonely, and two, it can be like quite discouraging, and oftentimes it puts you off staying the course. Like I remember for years, especially when I was prepping, like I was down Dunedin, it's cold, everyone else drinks at parties, I'm at the gym every day, on Saturdays, on Sundays, in the evenings, and I'm kind of questioning, is it worth it? And it never even amounted to anything in terms of the sport, but looking back now, I'm like, all that work still, it was still like an investment into all the things I've learned now, and I'm able to apply to my clients or my business or conversations with people like you. And I just think, have you noticed a difference between being completely by yourself and having probably a lot of people around you not understanding it, and then now having the person you're closest to probably completely get it?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, like completely right. Like everything you did in the past for you right now has transitioned into your own business growth for yourself. Going back to what you said, like to look at all those little sacrifices you could have made, and little, like you said, Saturday night, Sunday night, you skip going out to have your drinks, and now what, you're living up north, you're happily married, you got clients, coaching online, multiple clients there, coaching some really great athletes around New Zealand. So you can't really look back and be like, oh, I wish I went out more, because to be fair, it's set you up in this position now where it's giving you a bit more leeway if you wanted to. Um, what was the second part of the question?
just how you've what's it like going through a process initially by yourself, and then now you have someone to be honest, I don't even know. That's why I'm asking you. I don't know what it's like to go through the process with someone close to me, knowing exactly why I'm doing it, and also supporting me. I don't know what it's like to be in the trenches, really training hard, and not even just in prep. You'll know how it is. You could have a big week at work, stuff going on externally, and then to still go in the gym and progress your lifts on a leg session. That takes a lot. And I'm asking you what it's like to have someone. It might seem normal to you now, but I'm wondering if you refer back to a time when it wasn't. What's it like to have not even just a mate, but your partner there? And like you just said before, you said, the other one will run over and spot me if I need it, and understand what a quality range of motion or an exercise is. What is that like?
Yeah, firstly, I actually really correlate and relate to not having your family understand what you do, and definitely being younger. That is some of the most extremely difficult. It's quite difficult to go through because you're young and you don't really understand. And even now, it's sometimes some things they'll still hurt. It's but you just don't they just don't understand and can't support in the way that Charles does. So that's why it's so cool having someone, having your loved one do that with you. And anything else you want to add to that? About what it was like before?
No, just more obviously, just no one understands anything but yourself. At the end of the day, you're doing this for yourself, but prep doesn't have to be a selfish thing. They say bodybuilding is a selfish sport. But, you've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry in your corner rooting for you. You're the one physically making the changes to your body. But what I've noticed is putting yourself around a tighter knit community. I want a smaller bubble around me. I don't want 20 people knowing everything what I'm up to. Not knowing, but I don't want 20 people knowing just my first name. I'd rather 5 or 4 people around me knowing what I'm up to and knowing X, Y, and Z. I've got a mate, Tyson. He texts me every second day, what you up to, how you going, how's prep going, what's your body weight looking like. Mate Travis, who's always in recent contact with me, how's everything going, how you going, how's prep going, what's work like, just general questions. They don't have to be into detail, but they're there and they care for you.
Supportive.
And then I've got Georgia here, when I do check-ins in the morning when I send it to Connor, on a Saturday morning, sometimes Sunday.
We send our check-ins to each other. So I'll just forward what Connor might send.
CC him into the email.
Yeah, that's it.
This is how check-in or and it's good having that opinion, but also the relationship Charles and I have is we can call each other out and not take it to heart. It might be okay, George, I might be doing something that I shouldn't really, or just an example with Charles, he's got quite a big appetite, so with cheat meals I just have to pull him back. Oh, babe, it's enough, it's enough.
Stop
no more, because you don't want to it's not you'd ruin your hard work, but it's you just want to obviously do everything you can to in the direction of the goal that you're working towards. So it's just good to have that support, and then that also hardware when you need it.
It's small things too. When we're doing the check-in photos, she does the whole thing the judges do, quarter turn to the left, quarter turn to the right, I should say. And then I'm posing and goes, suck your bloody guts in and shit like that, just to make it look good. Little things like that help age. It's just you can take a laugh out of anything, really. What else is there?
Have you guys not just trained? What have you guys I don't know if you even talked about this that much, but is there anything you guys have planned to cultivate or do together, or do you guys have, I guess, long-term plans for what you'd like to achieve in maybe bodybuilding or even just as a couple?
Yeah,
Yeah, we well, yeah, I guess obviously our goal was to compete, together this year, but just with my
Mm.
accident, that's been put on hold. But obviously, pro card's still the goal for me. It's something that I'm working towards, and I know Charles is wanting to work towards that in the years to come as well. But just with like the knowledge that Charles and I both share, we're really like online coaching has been something that I've always wanted to do, but I've just always put off because I've just been so busy in every aspect of my life, and it's something that I'm really trying
Mm.
to prioritize now. Like as mentioned with the Instagram, and grow that base, and then like we even look up to you, Campbell, like and what you're doing is pretty awesome. And then like just to mention like Ash and Lou, I think what where they're kind of at is something like that we want to work towards. Would you
Mm.
say?
yeah. Like coming from myself, used to be a full-time YouTuber.
Mm.
So I've got the social media sort of background there.
Mm.
So I'm able to somewhat help George with the algorithms, like knowing the posting things and how everything sort of works with it there, but also transitioning that onto like bigger pictures together. Like you said, um, both pretty clued up in the coaching scene knowledge when it comes to fitness and
Mm.
bodybuilding and that was would be a big goal is to do something together with coaching like that. Um, and take it further, like um, gyms
Yeah.
in Christchurch as well. We'd love to open up a gym in Christchurch.
Mm.
Not just any gym, but like one with phenomenal, decent equipment. Um,
That's something that Charles is really big on, is like using like very good equipment.
Mm.
Real good equipment. I got mates that are so keen to like all the student equipment, and they've seen me use it in the gyms up north and stuff. And it's actually quite a privilege to go to some of the gyms up north and use the
Unrivaled. Have you been there, Campbell?
No, where's that?
It's up in Auckland. When I was competing up in Manukau last year, Charles went and had a push session there, and they've got all of that like Prime Fitness stuff that is
Oh,
based
man.
on
you can like manipulate the resistance profile and
so
everything. A
like
lot
an
of the
Oh,
enthralled
machines.
yeah.
harder.
Is that like the
Yeah,
machines like Jordan Peters has with like it
yeah,
goes like
no,
with the strength curve?
they look hideous, but like
Yeah, yeah.
they just they're so smooth and like even like Arsenal kits and Atlantis kits and
Mm.
it's also that real good old school stuff as well, like the old Cybex and
Hmm.
um,
Gen 1, Gen 2.
yeah, and went to a gym down in Dunedin called Olympic Gym.
Mm.
It's just been done
Yep.
over, and
Mm.
oh my, I thought it was just bloody
Was
Christmas,
still,
mate.
yeah.
It was
Mm.
phenomenal.
Mm.
I just almost had to book, well, probably had to book a couple of trips back on prep just for like that little motivation thing because you're in such a
Mm.
great atmosphere, scenery, and even the owner, man, he's comes up here and he's just top bloke too.
Mm.
The
Yeah, I
place
saw you
got
the other day. I think put up about like you'd have to head back to Dunedin. I was like, shit, mate. That's the only thing you'd be going there for is a good gym because there's not much else there.
No, she's a bit of a one hit wonder down there, but
Yeah.
tell you what, you could spend 3 4 hours in that gym. It's just like an array of like good quality, all new, clean. The environment's great. Like Gary will come over, yarn to you. He has his dog
Mm.
there, and um,
yeah.
honestly, you can. It's like a gym you've got to go to for growth. Like you'll grow down there,
Mm.
like, no tomorrow, because people are in that same environment, headspace with you there. They want to see
Mm.
you succeed and achieve.
It's around like bringing back to that being around like-minded people. Hey.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
How have you guys found like? Because I'll be honest, I struggle with just the some of this that scene in general. I don't know if it's just me and I'm a bit of an odd cat, or I just have different values, or I think I got into it at a weird time. Like when I competed, no one was ever my age. There was always older people that just wasn't super healthy, especially like down south when I was doing it. Um, where I think I said this to you, Georgia, last time, but you guys have just, I don't know whether it's just by chance or you seem to have a bunch of good people around you. Like I know you obviously have your coach Connor, who seems pretty onto it. I know you guys have had a lot to do with like Darren, and that's funny because he's probably one of the only people who ever like came up to me at a show and like said g'day and introduced himself, you know. So how do you guys find the culture? You would crack up, bro, because this was like 2016, and he was a different. Yeah, we were both. We both looked pretty. Well, I look horrendous, and he looked a lot like maybe a lot less developed than he does now. But yeah, how do you guys just find the culture of the sport? Like, I'm sure you come across some dickheads, and also obviously some people you love. But is that something you'd like to, I guess, have a positive impact on, like relating back to what you're saying about, I guess, doing things as a couple?
Yeah, like there is, you got your different people in the sport as well. That's for sure, and people that you can actually see they're only in it short term.
Mm.
They're only doing it short term, like whether it's just to look good once or something like that. But then you've got you can really sort of know someone when they're fully invested into the sport. When their head's screwed on and that's what they want. They're driven because they want the same sort of goals as you. They're not just rambling on about themselves all the time. They're asking you questions, and
that's how we met. Actually, talking about bodybuilding, I was like, "Oh, so you coached by blah blah blah. Oh yeah, how did you find that experience?
I was mention that name.
I was with blah blah blah, and like that was crack up, yeah.
And then she was just swimming in the river.
Wait, what?
She was swimming in the river, and I was rocking up to the river, and then she was just like, "Oh, you coached by so and so."
This was a person.
Yeah, she overheard the conversation I was having with a mutual friend of ours, and then
nice.
She just jumped in.
That was your in.
How you doing?
Crack up. Yeah, I guess like back to the question, Campbell. Like Charles mentioned, like you do notice the difference with those people. And even just reflecting back on that question, kind of like made me realize like it's quite cool when, I've been on, had my fitness account since 2018 now, and like you look back and you can see those OGs that are still in it back from 2018, and you can think of like your mates like Darren, like Connor, Charles, yourself, like those are the type of people that are just gonna, it's day in day out, like bodybuilding, and it's those are the people that understand that it's like consistency and discipline and treat your off season just as you would your prep, not like, oh, let's go prep and I'm going to go out and be like a normal human now, and I'll come back next year and I'll do another show but not make any progress, and that'd be like one of the huge reasons why I'm not competing this year, because why would I compete when like I can't even train legs properly, like I'm just trying to facilitate my leg. And that is a hard decision to go through, but it's the like wisest decision to make, really.
I think it's about having respect for the sport, and it's pretty easy to identify who has respect for the sport and who doesn't. And like it's interesting why people got into it. Like I started training before like even social media was really a thing, and I think the first people I really was following was like Kai Green, and then like Dorian's my favorite, and Kevin Lavroni, and that's what it's built on. And because I was watching them and taking content from them, that's how I viewed the sport, and that's how I respected the sport. It wasn't like I got into it and like Chris Bumstead was the first guy I met, and like Chris Bumstead's obviously the man, but it's just a little bit different. Like, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But one thing I actually wanted to ask you, Charles, you talked about your first prep, and I think talking about respecting the sport, competing's become super popular and like really glorified, and a lot of people were just jumping into it and having no idea. And I was one of those people, like pretty much everyone is. Yeah. And it's like personal training. It's like coaching. Everyone says how mean it is and how well they're doing, but I'll be the first one to tell anyone it's a freaking grind. And it's the same with competing, especially if you don't have a great coach, especially if like, you're not supernaturally gifted. So for people who are like glorifying competing, could you talk about maybe horrors is the right word of like your first prep?
there's a lot went wrong.
Mm.
My mindset wasn't in it right from the get go. Like,
Mm.
I wanted to compete, and then I thought I was in the right headspace, whatever. And the only reason why I persevered, because I was touching on it before, is my mate Tyson. Him and I just said, "Yeah, we'll do a show together. We'll do it
Mm.
together. We'll get some photos on stage together at the end of it, everything like that." But a lot of like behind the scenes shit, like it was just terrible. I became toxic. I became extremely like not myself. I don't know myself. I
Mm.
was toxic. I was very like abusive. I remember yelling at people in the gym, just telling me to spot me harder, do me, spot me harder, do this, and
Mm.
I was. But there was a lot of other factors behind the scenes
Mm.
why I was like that. I was. A,
You should actually touch on that.
no, I won't say actually. No, I won't say that. But yeah, I was. I was under the influence of other stuff.
Mm.
So I ended up just going for it, going for it, going for it, and then I did it, and my mate Tyson ended up actually just collapsing on stage, so I didn't even get a photo with him at the end.
That's
Really?
right.
Yeah, he just dropped, poor
As
bugger.
it competed
Oh,
so
what?
Yeah,
Why? Because he was so dehydrated, or?
he was just
I'm
dehydrated, I think.
surprised.
He was doing his posing routine to the song, and it was at Lewis Capaldi before you go, I think, and he just went, and I was,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
we were waddling out and putting him under my shoulders, to carrying him out
I'm just going to
off
go
the
back.
stage because he was just, so,
That's
so yeah,
that's
that
so
was bad.
bad.
So that was pretty bad, but like we even laugh about it to this day because it was a bit of like a joke between us. But
Yeah.
honestly, he looked really well too, and he like it goes to different bodies as well. He didn't even do cardio until he was like 2 weeks out, and then he had a mean feed of the old of K-Fire beforehand.
They did the
Mm.
10,000 calorie challenge after the show. I don't.
No,
Yeah.
Oh
no.
yes, after the
Might be
show,
doing that this time, Charles.
after the show, that was the worst thing he ever did. So the morning after the show, it was like 3 pancakes, 2 breakfast burritos. Went to
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kremes after, had a whole 12 pack or something. Then went and trained. And then after that, 2 foot longs from Subway. Came home, had Chinese, obviously, Chinese, the goat. I was like, you know what, I've still got room there for more. And like, I was bloated as hell, it hurt, but I was still hungry. It was like,
Mm.
oh, I can only go for more. So I just kept on eating more and more food, and just, I don't know where it was all going.
See what I mean
Yeah.
about being tired?
Like, I was
Yeah.
hungry. I was.
Nah, I know, bro. I was exactly the same. Like the first show I did was so drastic, and like the thing is you end up. I think when you're competing on the day, like you end up, especially if you're dehydrated, you just want water. Especially if you've done that drastically, and you've eaten up anyway. Like you're carved up. You've carved up, but like you're full, but you're still like, oh, I've got to go have my cheat meal. Like I ate so much food the day of the show because I hadn't had any water or salt or anything for a couple of days because that's what someone had told me to do, which is stupid. But I was eating all this food because I was so flat, thinking it was going to fill me up, but I had no water or salt, so I just flat and looked like shit. And I was full as like appetite. I had no appetite. I was full, and the show finished at like 10:30 at night. It was so late, but I was like, I got to have my cheat meal, and I went and got like a pizza and 2 McFlurries. Like, wasn't even that keen. Smashed it down, and then I woke up in the night with just like sweats, bro, from all the just the carbs and everything, and the tan just like destroyed the bed. Like I think I ruined the bed because the tan went everywhere. But yeah, I was gonna ask you, obviously, like who did you have, and you don't have to name and shame, but you can if you want, but like who did you have around you, or did you not really have anyone around you at that time helping you out?
So
Wasn't that when you were with
yeah. So I had obviously my mum around me. She understands the sport. She's not, against it, but not super supportive of it. Like she understands it's what we do, it's what I'm passionate about, and she respects that. But she's not going to be like, there's a million other things you could be doing, stuff like that. But she's not going to be like, stop what you're doing, against that. So had her around me, and that was pretty much it. To be fair, I had a friend as well from back in the day, but that was about it really. I ended up, and I was working a job at the time, and I tore my infraspinatus when I was on prep last year. So that was one of the issues. So I was just kept on just pushing through it, and I was on ACC, and I just kept on just getting my medical certificate renewed because I just keep on going through prep. I got nothing left in me, just keep on going, and turns out, the people from work would find my social media post and me at the gym, and then
no.
and then I block their accounts, bro, and they make fake accounts. It's like, got no freedom, eh? And then I ended up posting a video of me on my jet ski once, and that was from January, and the prep was in May, and no, prep was in June, so it was an old video. And then I get a phone call from ACC asking why I'm out on my jet ski. I'm like, no, I'm actually in, you can tell from my location services on my iPhone that this is where I'm at. I'm in Christchurch right now. Like, okay. So anyway, they tried to throw me under the bus there. So it was you against the world pretty much. Well, at that time. And then the big eye-opener for me was the prep that I started doing in 2020. Last year. That was a big one, but I had to pull out due to some unseen circumstances going on with my health as well. And I was like 4 weeks out. But
no, you were a bit more than that. I think it was maybe 8 or something.
I wasn't 8 weeks out.
6 or something. We were about that.
Yeah, so the body just stopped responding. So
I was on more food, about the same-ish food than him. Like it was, moving up to Palmy and just wasn't really in the right headspace. So just made the mature decision to pull the pin and
there was other stuff going on with the body though at the time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's probably something I wish I did my third show. I just shouldn't have been doing. I just didn't have my ducks in an order. And it's funny you even tell that story about ACC and that. I would like to think of myself as a pretty disciplined, honest, upfront dude, and never try and do anything dumb, and always tried to work hard. But I stayed enrolled in uni, and didn't go to a single thing for probably at least a year just to bodybuild. And then it got to the point where the uni were like, hey, you can't come here anymore because you're not, and Study Link were like, hey, you can't have a student loan allowance for the next 5 years, which isn't very good. But it's just at the time I was so invested in this thing I was doing.
Nothing comes in front of it, eh?
And I think you just, you don't want to get too cut up about it because that's just being young and I think a bit naive. And I always thought it's better I'm into bodybuilding than something else that could be much more worse. And drugs. And that's what a lot of, especially down in Otago, people just drank. And I think, again, the skills I learned from that, the skills I learned from that I'm able to apply now. But I think as you get older, I'm sure now, bro, if you had to go through a prep, especially having Georgia, you probably know you could still work and bodybuild. And even I noticed that's something you guys did. I know now I could easily study at uni and bodybuild. That would be easy to me now, especially for the amount of work I have to do with my business and all those things now. Me now would be sweet with that. Me then wasn't. But even I noticed you guys when you've gone to shows or when you've traveled, you've been able to drive somewhere or go on a road trip or travel to a show or whatever and still have your meals and still train at other gyms and still go to the beach. Even I think when you guys were in the mount, I saw you went to the beach and that and went and ate your meals at a table out on the beachfront, and that's still stuff I'm not that great at, And so is that something you've obviously gotten better at?
Yeah, just how badly do you want it? That's why I look at it.
That's easy.
There's going to be someone else out there that will be having the restaurant meals. So in order to get ahead of them, you got to be that. You got to be better than the rest. That's why I look at it. How bad?
But what about the other side of it though? Even having a relationship, you can't just be you can't be that dude anymore that's just in the gym yelling at people. And you can't yell at Georgia, hey, get the fuck over here and spot me. You've got to be a little bit compassionate and a little bit more self-sacrificing, and you have to balance that with still being the absolute best of an athlete you can be, Is that hard at times?
So, no, I'm actually really excited for this prep. Like, I'm really looking forward to it, and having Georgia around me for this prep. Like, she is able to, I feel like, bring out the best in you as well, which is, like, for example, she goes back and, after I do my exercise, my set, whatever, she goes, that's, real great stuff. It's more than what you did last week, whatever. It's just little bits of, like, reassurance within that gym sort of environment is, like, makes you feel better too.
Take a win out of anything you can, eh? We're so hard on ourselves as bodybuilders, and I think, one big thing that I've really tried to implement in Charles is not having that, like, obviously, like, everyone wants to get on stage, everyone wants to win, everyone wants to get a medal, blah blah blah. But go into that prep and, like, I've told Charles, like, you've already won, you've already smashed your last physique, and what's bodybuilding at the end of the day? It's you versus you. Like, yeah, you're up against people on stage, but if you can get up on stage knowing that you've put your heart and soul into it, then you've already won, really. So that's something that I guess I was able to show Charles, like, last year it turned out well that I won my shows and everything, but I didn't go in there expecting, like, oh my gosh, I need to win, and if I don't win then the world's going to end. Like, it wasn't that attitude. I was just going in there with no expectations and just doing me and just presenting myself to the best ability that I could. And
your mindset was you were happy with the way you were looking. You did the best that you could do. You were the one that was topping the extra 5-10 minutes on the cardio machine every day, doing everything you could actually do just to show up to be the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing you take away from it. Like,
and like even now it's like I've got this broken leg. It's like it doesn't take away from what I achieved last year. It's I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat what I got last year. It's just going to take me time, and I know, like, at the moment I'm doing everything that I can in terms of trying to make this recovery as speedy as I can, but it is one of those things that just take time. So that's why it's cool. It's like Charles is competing, I'm still, like, immersed in the sport, but it's also like a good sign and stuff for me to have a bit more balance in that at the moment, and focusing on other things, not just bodybuilding, which is quite nice.
For sure.
Balance is a very important aspect as well.
It sounds like you've probably helped Charles balance out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is I went through these last time with you, Georgia, but I think, Charles, you can answer them. And they're just some quick fire questions. So I think you're going to like the first one, but what would your last meal be if you were on death row, and a main and a dessert?
Oh, I'd hands down like a burger.
Not Chinese?
Oh, yeah, well, that's going to be in it somewhere too. But, like, a good, real succulent burger. We've got this burger shop in Christchurch here. Just it's made by, like, cannabis supporters, and they must be high when they make their burgers, because they are the most juicy burgers, eh? And, like, you even rock over to the shop and they've got, like, cannabis leaves everywhere, and they sell, like, all this goodies in there as well. So that, and a good dessert would be like a sticky date pudding or a self-saucing pudding, caramel sauce.
Nice. One song to train to for the rest of your life.
One song to train to. Oh, I've been actually vibing. Kid Leroy, where does your spirit go? That's been hitting the old league days, eh? That's been really, like,
faded away.
That's been giving you real in the dark headspace to actually nail those top sets, eh? Just can't relate to us about that.
The greatest bodybuilder of all time.
Oh, this pretty stuff.
Your favourite, not like what the sport, like, on their record, like your favourite.
My favourite, I've got some. I've always been a huge fan of Callum von Moger. Now, or even before, like,
he's been through some really challenging life experiences. Yeah,
like, just his character is in general just, like, extreme. Gets out there, does some fun. He's just doesn't care, scruffy, sort of just whatever, just goes with the flow.
GC.
Yeah, just all around. Yeah, bit of a fan.
Favorite movie of all time.
I'd have to say, like, probably like Olympus Has Fallen or like White House, something like that.
Mm.
But I'm a fan of that, the old terrorism movies.
Your biggest inspiration?
Biggest inspiration. Oh god, I would like, probably the old mum. She's always a good lady.
Mm.
Better get some brownie points for saying her name.
Nice. And one piece of advice you would give your 10-year-old self?
One piece of advice I give my 10-year-old self, I'd be like, take each day as it comes. Be blessed.
Mm.
Be grateful.
Nice. And before I wrap up, is there anyone you guys would like to plug or thank or?
Well, thank you for having us on. Start
Oh,
off with.
you're more than welcome.
It's been a pleasure and a privilege.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's just cool to connect with
Mm.
like-minded people in the industry, Campbell, and we'll have to make a trip up and get a few
Mm.
trains in or something like that one day. That'd be
Yeah,
pretty cool.
100%. Yeah, come to the Mount.
Yeah,
We
no,
love it up there, eh?
yeah, we
Mm.
just got there recently, but
Mm.
yeah, obviously, our coach Connor, yeah,
Mm.
for
Yeah,
everything that
we
he
mentioned
does, and
him a couple of times.
yeah,
Mean.
just I've been with him like 3 years now, so yeah,
Cool.
Always being honest and raw, telling you the truth, and just supportive, and
Mm.
always get a message. Yeah, shout out to the cave as well for the supplements.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
plugged in, bro.
yeah,
Like, finding some decent supplements in New Zealand.
Mm.
Like, it's only taken how many years, but it's happened. So we've
People don't
been
realize how rubbish all this shit that like is getting pushed to the mainstream is, eh? Like it's
yeah.
fuck, man.
That's
I
for
don't know.
sure.
It's
What's
just
just caffeine? No.
yeah, like,
yeah.
and what about all these like, all these new things that are coming out, and they're just like blends as well. It's like there's just
Mm.
I don't want to talk down on it. No, I won't talk down on
Yeah,
it
no,
because
yeah. Well, we've ranted on too many people
yeah,
in this
we won't.
podcast. I think we'll chill.
Shout out to
But
the
yeah,
cave with some good
yeah.
stuff good for the UK US supplements, man. Like if
Mm.
people try this stuff, I guarantee they won't look elsewhere because the
Mm.
quality is just
Mm.
it's
Mm.
what New Zealand needs to finally compete with the rest of the world.
Mm. Mean.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, you can follow Georgia and Charles on Instagram at gpitch_fitness and also at Charles Harman. But thank you guys both for coming on today. I really enjoyed having a chat and just keeping a little bit more casual. And I wish you all the best for your training and your competitions for the rest of the year.
Thank you.